G2 and Gen.G have qualified for the playoff stage at VCT Masters Shanghai, and there have been some very close and surprising matches at the event so far. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm recapping the first 6 matches of the VCT Masters Shanghai event. There definitely have been some surprising results and some teams that we expect to make it to the playoff stage that have, and some teams that maybe are overperforming what we expected them to. So let's get right into the meat and potatoes. We have a lot of matches to get through, so let's not waste any time. Quick pause, just a little disclaimer. I filmed the first part of this video last night, but I wasn't able to complete the video, and by the time I had time to finish the video, the matches had already happened. So I do have a segment about the last 2 matches with Foot versus GEN.G and Leviathan versus T1. So that's the second part of this video, but we're talking about these first 6 matches first, but those other matches are there. Anyways, get back to it. Anyways, starting with G2 versus T1. G2 took this one 2-1. This was the first match of the event and a match between 2 teams that do have a lot to prove. G2 being the guard roster, which did make an international event all the way back in 2021, but weren't able to do much there and weren't able to make it back until this event. And then T1, a team that actually stole one of the guard's players and Saya player, did make it to all the international events last year, but couldn't really do a lot of damage. So definitely a very important match for both of these teams, both really wanting to prove a lot. And T1 did make it close, but ultimately the end result was in favor of G2. Starting on Breeze, which was T1's pick, G2 win this one 13-8, 7-5 at the half, so pretty close on that first half, both teams going on win streaks of 4 rounds. But then G2 taking a hold early in that second half, and then T1 trying to get a little bit out of it, but couldn't get much. G2 win it. Then on Icebox, T1 would absolutely take it to G2, winning 13-1. I don't know if that's the first VCT match that has had a map that was 13-1, but I don't think I've seen another one. And it's kind of insane that it happened on Icebox because G2 is a team that have been very good on that map so far. So losing this bad is definitely not something that you want. 11-1 at the half, T1 just needing 2, and as soon as they got that pistol, it was over. But then G2 would recover on Lotus, admittedly very close to losing. 14-12, so going into overtime, and G2 winning the only 2 rounds of overtime. 9-3 in favor of T1 at the half, continuing their momentum from Icebox, and G2 would just have to battle and claw their way back, winning 9 in the second half and tying the game up, almost losing, allowing T1 to get to match point, but they did steal it from them. So kind of a robbery in the way of G2. They did win the first map. The second map, they got absolutely blown out on a map that they are generally quite good on, and then almost having the same happen again on the third map, but eventually recovering. Looking at the MVPs of both teams, on the side of G2, we have Leaf going 59, 44, and 7 for plus 15. Carpe having a good match on the side of T1, going 53, 38, and 21 for plus 15. So solid match from both teams overall, both teams winning the other team's map pick. While they have been good on Icebox in the past, they definitely want to clean it up a bit because it's looking like teams have been able to exploit them on that map, and T1 were able to do it, but G2 narrowly escaped this one and they take it. Moving on, we have FPX, Fun plus Phoenix versus Foot Esports. This one was another 2-1 victory in favor of FPX. I believe this was their first international win. FPX do take this one 2-1. Their first win on an international stage, at least as their Chinese team, because they did have that EMEA team before. And Foot, kind of a disappointing loss for them. And for Foot, kind of a disappointing loss for them. This is their first international debut of the year, making it to all the internationals last year, but definitely not being able to do as much damage as they would have liked. So not the start that you would have wanted, especially against a team that has struggled to even get a win on the international stage. Looking at map 1, we have Sunset, which was 13-7 in favor of Fun plus Phoenix, which also marks the first map win of an international stage because at Madrid they did not win a map. Taking dominance early, going 9-3 on the first half. Foot able to get 4 in the second half, but it just wasn't enough. FPX had the lead. Then Lotus was closer, 14-12 in favor of Foot going into overtime. 8-4 in favor of Foot at the half, but then FPX were able to tie it back up. They won 6 rounds in a row. Foot won 3. They did get themselves to match point, but weren't able to close it out. But then they narrowly escaped disaster and take the map in overtime. Then on map 3, 13-10, much closer game in favor of FPX. Looking like Foot might have had the jump early, 8-4 at the half in favor of them. So FPX not finding as much as they wanted to, and then Foot also won the pistol and the next round. So it looked like they were probably going to be able to close this out, and then nope. FPX win 9 rounds in a row to get the victory. they win the match. Absolutely crazy way to take this one. FPX have definitely been one of the more surprising teams at this event so far. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of FPX, we have Life. He went 61, 55, and 13 for +6. Then for Foot, CNED going 54, 49, and 14 for +5. So Foot definitely had a decent performance, but FPX were just more ready for this one. They were definitely feeding off of the crowd, being a hometown team in China. This was their domain, so if they were going to have a good performance at any tournament, it had to be this one. So very happy for FPX for finally getting that win. A disappointing start for Foot Esports, but they definitely have a chance to come back later in the tournament. Moving on to the second day of matches, we have GEN.G versus Leviathan. 2-1 victory in favor of GEN.G. This is Leviathan's first international as an organization since 2022. Obviously Sao Paulo happened, but they weren't able to qualify for Tokyo or for Champions back in 2023, so this is a very important tournament for this team. Ospas was playing incredibly well in the Americas, and he definitely didn't stop there. He definitely had a very good match, but GEN.G, they're really looking to bounce back from the embarrassment of losing to Sentinels in the grand finals of Madrid. So this is really important for them too. This is two heavy class teams with some amazing talent on it going against one another, and GEN.G ended up coming out on top. Looking at map 1, we have Icebox, which Leviathan took the lead early. Looking at map 1, we have Icebox 13-7 in favor of Leviathan. 7-5 at the half, GEN.G only able to get 2 round wins on their second half, then Leviathan winning 6, they take the map. Then Lotus, GEN.G established dominance 13-5 in favor of them. Very back and forth in terms of the round win streaks, Leviathan winning the first 2 rounds, GEN.G get 3, Leviathan get 3, and then GEN.G get 4 to end the half, which they then continued into the second half, winning 6 in a row in that second half to win. So Leviathan needing to find something in that third map, we go to Breeze. GEN.G, they've been pretty good on Breeze this year. Leviathan weren't able to get much, 13-7 in favor of GEN.G. Similar situation with Leviathan winning the pistol and the next round, but then GEN.G able to win 6 in a row. Leviathan were able to get 2, but then 4 in a row for GEN.G, ending the first half and going into the second, and then a little bit of back and forth, but ends up going GEN.G's way, and they take the match. Looking at the team MVPs, we have Charon on the side of GEN.G going 46, 36, and 7 for +10. And then who else but Ospas? He went 54, 40, and 7 for +14. So definitely a disappointing way for Leviathan to make their international debut this year. Definitely wanting a bit more of an even fight on those second and third maps. But this is a much different crop of teams that they've faced versus the teams that they faced in Americas. You're going to be going against different styles of play, different stars that play differently from the stars in America. So we'll see how they adjust to this one, but GEN.G definitely looked like the better team in this one and definitely looked like the more experienced team. Moving on to the next match, we have Heretics versus Dragon Ranger Gaming. This was the first 2-0 of the tournament, Heretics taking this one clean sweep 2-0. And this is definitely an expected result. Team Heretics are missing Miniboo, but players like Woot and Patatek were able to step it up and perform very well in his absence. And for DRG, this is the first international. They were the Ascension Chinese team, so they definitely have a lot to prove, but Heretics are just the more experienced team. And it showed up pretty early. Team Heretics taking map 1 Icebox 13-5, 8-4 at the half, Team Heretics going on a 5-round win streak, and then DRG only able to steal the bonus from Team Heretics in the second half. This one was over quick. And then Sunset was a very similar story, 13-5 as well. 7-5 at the half, so DRG were able to, get to 5 during that first half, but that meant that they didn't get any in the second half. Team Heretics going on a 8-round winning streak to end the match. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Team Heretics, Woot with an impressive debut on the international stage. 41, 20, and 7 for +21 for him. Then Nick went 30, 27, and 8 for +3 on the side of DRG. So a good start to the tournament for Team Heretics. This was an expected result, a must-win match. So moving on to this morning's matches, we have GEN.G versus FPX, a very close match, but it did end up going in the way of GEN.G 2-1. A bit of a slow start for GEN.G, FPX definitely surprising them. FPX look much better than they have in previous international terms, and it's very good to see. We definitely want China to be a more competitive region at these international tournaments, because if you just have these teams always go out early, then it's just not very exciting. And beating Foot was kind of impressive, but putting up this performance against a top tier team in the world in GEN.G is definitely a good sign. Unfortunate for them that they couldn't get the win, but that's just how it goes, and they did give them a fight. Looking at map 1, which was the only map that I watched live because it was 2 a.m. by the time it ended, this one looked like FPX was going to end it early. It was 10-2 at the half. GEN.G just not really getting much. And is this just a thing about Lotus where it just the team attacking first just absolutely steamrolls the other team. I know Lotus is a more attacker-sided map, but like, come on, this just keeps happening where like a team will just destroy the other team on the first half on their attack side, and then all of a sudden they just become a pumpkin on their defense side. Maybe I'm just thinking to a bunch of Sentinels games that have happened this year, but it happened here as well. As I said, 10-2 at the half, then Gen.G would flip the script, winning 10 and FPX winning 2 on the second half. Bit of a back and forth during overtime, but FPX were able to close it out, narrowly avoiding what would have been an absolutely insane collapse. Then we have Sunset and Gen.G carrying a bit of momentum from their strong performance in the second half of Game 1 into this one, 13-7 in favor of them. 6-6 at the half, so pretty close, but then Gen.G were able to go on a strong win streak. FPX only getting 1 in the second half. Gen.G just had the lead and the momentum. Then we go to Ascent. This one was pretty close, 13-11 in favor of Gen.G. FPX almost getting it to tied to go into overtime, but did not make it happen. 8-4 at the half, and then Gen.G winning 5 and FPX winning 6 on their second halves. Pretty back and forth during that second half. FPX almost tying it, as I said, but it just wasn't enough. Gen.G were able to take it. Looking at the MVPs of both teams, on the side of Gen.G, we have Texture. He went 66, 55, and 12 for +11, looking like he hasn't skipped a beat from the Pacific regular season. And on the side of FPX, we have A, or as it's spelled, A. He went 58, 52, and 12 for +6. So definitely a good fight on the side of FPX, more than what I would have expected from them in past tournaments. So they're definitely looking like a potential team to watch this tournament. They are on home turf. Maybe that's giving them a lot more motivation. They know the crowd, they know the country, and it definitely seems like they're performing better than they ever have because they know how important of a tournament it is. But Gen.G, they are just the better team. They were able to close it out after a slow start, but I do see some good signs on the side of FPX from this match, so definitely do not count them out. Moving on to the last match we have to talk about, we have G2 versus Team Heretics. This one was another 2-1 victory in favor of G2. Very important match for both teams. Whichever team won were able to join Gen.G in the playoff stage, and it did end up going in the favor of the North American team in G2. But Team Heretics definitely not making it easy for them. Looking at map 1, we have Lotus, which did go in the favor of Team Heretics, 13-9, 8-4 at the half, and then Team Heretics winning the pistol and the second round. G2 getting 5 during that half, trying to find something on their defense side, but it just wasn't enough. Then we have Bind, which G2 were able to take a commanding lead on, 13-6, 9-3 at the half, winning 8 rounds in a row and then parlaying that into 10 rounds in a row, winning the pistol and the second round. Team Heretics did steal the bonus and won 2 rounds after that, but just wasn't enough. G2 would win it. Then to end it split 13-8 in favor of G2. G2 taking a commanding lead, winning 8 rounds in a row, 9-3 at the half. Team Heretics tried to get it back in the second half, but it just wasn't enough, and G2 would take it. Looking at the MVPs of both teams, on the side of G2, we have Jonah P going 48, 44, and 18, 4+4, and then on the side of Heretics, we have Rhines with a very solid performance going 52, 40, and 33 for +12. So pretty solid performance by both teams. Team Heretics definitely not getting what they wanted out of those last 2 maps, and G2 recovering from that first map pretty well. So some good signs on both teams. G2 looking better in this match than they did against T1, and Team Heretics definitely going against a better team than they did in their previous match. They just weren't able to get it done, but this team still is in a pretty good spot to make it to the playoff stage. We'll see if that ends up being the case, but it's not going to be easy for any team. So looking at the last 2 games we have to talk about, we have Leviathan versus T1. This was, of course, an elimination match. Whichever team lost this match would be out of the tournament, and the team that won would be 1 win away from making it to the playoff stage. And it did end up going in favor of Leviathan. They just were the better team consistently throughout this match. T1 just really couldn't get the kind of performance that they wanted out of their players, and unfortunately their Shanghai tournament ends on kind of a whimper. Looking at map 1, which was Breeze, Leviathan did take this one 13-9. 9-3 at the half, Leviathan going on a win streak of 6 rounds during that half, and T1 fought their way back as much as they could, but Leviathan only needed 4 to get it done. Then on Sunset, we see Leviathan do a very similar thing. They took control of this match early, going on multiple round win streaks in the first half to make it 10-2, 2. T1 were able to get 5 on their second half, but it just wasn't enough. Too little too late. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Leviathan, we have Ospos, to no one's surprise. 40, 25, and 11 for plus 15, another solid performance. Then for T1, we have Rossi showing up, 33, 29, and 11 for him. So disappointing end to the international stage for T1. They were only able to win 1 map this entire tournament. Granted, the teams that they faced were pretty high caliber. They faced both of the lower seeded Americas teams, and they just weren't able to get it done. It's unfortunate, and this team definitely wanted more, and it was a surprise that they even made it here after their slow start during the stage, but they recovered in their playoffs, and unfortunately they couldn't convert it into much success at Shanghai. But they still have a chance to make champions, so we'll see if they end up bouncing back for that one. And for Leviathan, you're now 1 win away from your playoff stage. Hopefully for them, they can close it out. And after a slow start, we're seeing that this team is definitely a dangerous team to watch during this tournament. And the last match we have to talk about is FUT Esports versus DRG. This one did go in favor of FUT 2-0. So this ends one of the Chinese teams' run at Shanghai. FPX and EDG are the only ones left. And FUT recover and establish dominance after what was a pretty shaky first match. Looking at map 1, which was Bind, it was pretty close, DRG getting to 10 rounds, but FUT Esports did take it 13-10. 8-4 at the half in favor of FUT, establishing dominance early. DRG were able to recover a little bit by winning the pistol and the bonus as well, going on 3-round win streaks. But FUT didn't need all that much in that second half, and they were able to find it. Then on Ascent, it did go into overtime, so DRG definitely not making it easy on FUT to get this win. FUT taking dominance early, winning the first 6 rounds in a row again. DRG recovering late in that first half, and then pretty back and forth during the second, but then the only 2 rounds of overtime went the way of FUT. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of FUT, we have CNED going 46, 34, and 12 for plus 12. And on the side of DRG, I don't even know how to say that name, so I'm just not going to try, but you can read it on the screen. He went 45, 35, and 21 for plus 15. So honestly, not a terrible performance by DRG during the Shanghai tournament. They just were against teams that are better than them. This is some valuable international experience for this team, a team that came in through the ascension process. And while they didn't really get much done, it definitely could have been worse. They could have gotten blown out during this match, but they were able to at least find something. It just wasn't enough to face a pretty good team in FUT. And for FUT, much like Leviathan, bouncing back after a rough first match, definitely looking a bit better. Playoffs might be out of reach for them at this point, but they are not out yet. So the matches that we have next up are FPX and Team Heretics, and FUT and Leviathan. I'm choosing Team Heretics for the first match. FPX have looked like a pretty good team this tournament, definitely feeding off that hometown advantage, but Team Heretics are a pretty good team, and I don't see them going out early again. I think they're going to want to do better than how they did at Madrid, which was, lose their only 2 matches. Then for FUT versus Leviathan, I think I'm going to go with Leviathan on this one. I think Ospos is not going to accept his team having a bad game. As he stated, he did not come all this way just to go out early, so I think they're probably going to win that one, but do not count FUT out. They are a good team. So those are the matches that have happened so far at VCT Masters Shanghai. The end of the Swiss stage is, I guess, next morning with these 2 matches. So I'll be talking about those matches as well as making some other videos about teams that have not played in the tournament yet. So stay tuned for those. Please click like if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys thought of all these matches so far.